That's my personal robot. So last week, we started a lesson on fractions. And I had a pancake and I cut that pancake into 2 parts.
Okay.
So this was my pancake and I cut it into 2 parts. Okay. Now, 2 equal parts. Each part is the same. Okay.
Okay.
So that's an example of 2 equal parts. And this is an example of 2 unequal or not equal parts. So let's say, for example, Cooper's mom made some cookies and there was 1 cookie left. And your mom is like, okay, Cooper, you have to share this with your sister. Maybe he would share it like that because maybe he loves cookies. But him and his sister would not get the same amount. This would be his part and that would be her part, right? So when we think of dividing or putting something in fractions, it is the idea that everyone gets the same amount, okay? So if I had a cookie, I would cut it and I would be able to share it evenly with one of you, all right? So last week we did halves, 2 parts. Today, we are going to do quarters, okay? So a part that's a quarter is a part that is a fourth. So that should remind you of the number 4, okay? Now I'm gonna show this to you. Again, equal parts. Okay, so think of this as a Hershey's bar.
Yeah.
I went to the supermarket, I picked up Hershey's bar, and I cut it into 4 parts. 1 part for Lamont, 1 part for Anthony, 1 part for Elijah, 1 part for Cooper. Now, all of you would get the same. We have a new friend coming in. Okay. Let's just give him a second.
So,
Yep. I'm sorry, guys. You okay, Cooper? Are you a little sleepy? It's the afternoon. This is when I get sleepy too. This is when I either take a nap or go have some coffee. Okay. So we're just waiting for Jack. We're ready for you, Jack. I'll wait for you to put your screen on. Yay! Jack, you can unmute or you can keep yourself on mute. You have a choice. Okay?
I'm not because my little sister's not here.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to review the lesson because Jack just arrived. Okay?
No.
I'm so proud of you. You're all ready. All right.
On you?
So last week we started our first lesson on fractions. And a fraction, the word fraction means part. Oh, Lamont, thank you. So Jack, you weren't here, but you submitted your exit ticket. So I'm going to just show you. All right. So last week we spoke about fractions. So a fraction is when you take a part of something. So last week we did halves. Okay. So if I were to take this, we'll just say that it's a cookie. Last week I had a pancake. So we're going to say that this is a cookie. So I took the cookie, Jack, and I divided it into 2 parts. 1 for me, 1 for you. This is a half, okay? And then you guys had, Jack did an exit ticket. It had a heart and a whole bunch of shapes, and he cut it into even parts, into halves. Now, guys, keep one thing in mind. Equal parts. So if I divide this between Jack and myself, Jack and I are going to have the same size piece. So So these are halves, okay? Now for today, and Jack, you came at the right time, we're gonna divide a Hershey's bar of chocolate into quarters. Can you guys say quarters?
Quarters.
Quarters.
Quarters are made. Quarters are half of a half.
Half of a half. Okay, all right.
2 quarters equal 1 half.
Right, which is, if you want to think money, it's 50 cents. And 1 quarter is 25 cents, right? Okay, perfect. You got it. So here we go. So here's our Hershey's bar of chocolate, and I want to divide it into quarters. I'm going to give 1 piece to Larmont. I'm going to give 1 piece to Anthony. I'm going to give 1 part to Cooper and 1 part to Lewis. Jack. Now, how would you feel if I gave someone a bigger piece?
Not fair.
Not perfect, right? So here we go. So I want to give all 4 of you a piece. Okay.
You can divide it into halves to make a line across.
Well, that's what we're going to do. Now, Jack, do me a favor. Raise a silent hand. All right. So here's my Hershey's bar of chocolate. There's 1 even part, 1 equal part for Lermont, for Anthony, for Cooper, and for Lewis. You all get the same amount. Okay. Now, let me show you something else. Okay. Now I'm going to also divide this square into fourths as well. Fourths.
Wow.
How do we know that it's a fourth?
Because there's 1/4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 equal parts. That means if I take this piece of chocolate,
There'll be 3 parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack, please raise a silent hand. I'm sorry if I didn't see you. So everyone's going to get the same amount. Okay. Now this is an example where it is not equal parts. All right. Now here's my Hershey's bar chocolate. This is not fair. So if this is for Lermont and that's for Anthony and Cooper and Jack, well, Jack and Cooper are going to get more than both of these guys. Okay. So keep in mind, when you're dividing a shape into fourths, it has to be equal parts. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So I'm going to draw a picture and I want you to tell me, well, let me show you something else. Can I show you guys something else?
Yeah.
I didn't expect to do this, but thank you. I'm going to take this cookie again, or the pancake like I had last week. I'm going to divide the pancake into thirds. Third. Oh, sounds like the number 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Jack.
Thirds are depending on the shape, depending on what you're and how many you want. The smaller the number, the bigger the halves, the quarters.
Yeah.
It can be. It can be. Is this the same, Jack, as thirds?
Yes.
Oh, how do you know that these are thirds, Jack?
Because there's 2 ways.
How do you know that this is a third?
There's 2 ways that I knew it was a third.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you know what's in the shape, you know it's a rectangle, and there's 2 parts. It reached 1 extra because it counts as the middle, and the 2 other pieces on the other side. So that's one way I knew it was 3, and I knew that, and I counted. You can also
And what did you count? How many did you count?
1, 3.
3 parts, 3 equal parts.
Yeah.
All right. Now here's a little question for you. All right. Now this first question is for Larmont. The first thing we did was halves, 2 equal parts, thirds, 3 equal parts, and then quarters, 4 equal parts. All right. So Larmont, this picture is for you. And you're going to tell me if I have divided this shape into halves, thirds, or quarters. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Halves, thirds, or quarters?
Thirds.
Perfect. All right. The next one is for Anthony. Halves, thirds, or quarters. You ready, Anthony?
Yeah, computer for a bit. Mm-hmm.
This one's my favorite. Halves, thirds, or quarters. Anthony.
Halves.
Perfect. Cooper, the next one's for you, okay? Halves, thirds, or quarters.
Me.
When it's in unit.
Ready? Halves, thirds, or quarters.
Halves.
Good. Jack, the next one's for you. You ready?
Halves.
Okay. Now, I'm going to have a question. I'm going to draw another shape, and you're going to respond by doing this or this, okay? This means yes, and this means no. Did I divide, here's the question, did I divide my shape into quarters? So it's either yes or no, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Jack, I'm so proud of you. You made it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a picture, and it's divided into fractions, into parts, equal parts. You have to tell me if I have divided this shape into quarters. This is yes, this is no. All righty, perfect. Now, how do we know that this is divided into quarters, guys? Raise a silent hand. How do we know that? Anthony.
There's 4 pieces.
Equal parts. That means I take this piece of gum and I give Lermont a piece. I give a piece to Anthony. I give a piece to Cooper, and I give a piece to Jack.
I love gum.
Now, if I would now, how would I need to change this shape so that I could get a piece? What would I need to do to this shape so that I could get a piece of candy?
Cut the larger one.
No. We got to raise a silent hand. I want a piece too. I need to change this up. What can I do? How can I change this? I can add to it maybe.
Yeah.
Because there's 4 of you and there's me. I want a piece also. What would I need to do? 1, 2, 3, 4. I want a piece.
I think of it.
Lermont.
You just add one more.
Oh, wait. Is that because 4 plus 1 is 5?
Yeah.
Is he correct? All right.
Correct.
Squeeze a little piece in there. So check this out, guys. Now we have fifths. Okay. So we did our halves. We did thirds. We did quarters. And we did
fifths.
Right? Because there's 5 equal parts. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So let me erase this. And I want you to tell me if this is an example of equal parts. Are you ready? No one's ready?
I'm ready.
Tell me if this is an example of equal parts. This is yes, this is no. Okay?
No.
Good. Now let's say, for example, Jack's mom made cookies and she had a heart-shaped cookie cutter. And she's like, oh, Jack, you had such a great job today. I'm gonna give you and your sister a cookie. And he's like, okay, great. I'm gonna break it for her. And he gave her that little piece because he wanted all that yummy stuff. she didn't get the same amount as him. So fractions is always having the same amount, okay? Now, one more thing. This is the numerical way of showing fourths. It is, so this is an example of 1/4. Let me show this to you, okay? So my daughter's in 6th grade. She's doing 6th grade math, and we're currently working on fractions again. So you're gonna see fractions for the next 5 years. It's a long time.
Wow.
Right? So let's say, for example,
Wow.
I have this piece of gum again. And I divided it into 4 equal parts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. This one part that's shaded, that is 1/4. Okay? Because one part is shaded. That 4 is for my 4 equal parts. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So listen, we're gonna end today. This is just a quick, quick lesson. But yeah, so we reviewed how to identify halves, 2 equal parts. We did thirds, didn't expect that, 3 equal parts, and then we did quarters. I even showed you fifths, which usually you don't see until like 4th or 5th grade, right? Okay. Let me ask you one more question. Who can tell me what fraction I have here? Raise a silent hand. Ooh, Lamont was first. I'll do another one for you, Jack.
Fourths.
Quarters. Good.
Quarters.
Fourths, right? Quarters. All right. How about this, Jack? Ready? Halves. How do you know that it's halves?
Well, there's one way. Actually, there's 2 ways. Same one I told you that about the rectangle one.
But how many, can you tell me how just by looking at it, how do I know that it's halves?
Well, there's a line down the middle that splits the triangle into smaller triangles, and it's like a knife throw. When you want to cut a piece of turkey, it's the same. Then you cut it.
Mm-hmm. And because there's 2 parts. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like that in just a food way.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. Is this an example of thirds? Raise a silent hand. Is this an example of thirds? Cooper? You think that this is an example of thirds?
3 parts?
There are 3 parts. True. But are they equal parts?
No.
So they have to be equal. So the answer is no, these are not thirds. While this cookie is cut up into 3 parts, it is not thirds because it's not 3 equal parts. Okay, yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, guys, listen. So we're finished for the day. And thank you so much. Jack, I'm so proud that you got on. That was a good job that you had to kind of log on by yourself. Anthony,
I didn't log on to myself.
But you were kind of there, like no one's watching you. You're doing it all by yourself.
I didn't do it by myself. My mom helped me.
That's okay. I need help sometimes too. Yes.
My dad was watching me.
Your dad was watching you.
In case there was a problem. In case I accidentally.
Technology is crazy, right?
And by the way, I'm using my mom's computer, so stuff happens. So that's why that's helping me.
You are right. Stuff happens all the time. This morning, my Kahoot in my first class did not work. It did not work. I was like, ah. So tomorrow there's no school. You get to sleep in. You get to have a late breakfast, lunch. On Thursday we have our live Zoom. We're gonna do another Kahoot.
I can't wait to see the 10:30.
Okay, so I'm gonna end today, and I thank you guys for coming.
Bye.
Spending your afternoon.
Bye.
Bye, Jack. Bye, Cooper.
I
Bye.
love all the support.
Thank you.